Jeep's Compass now makes more sense as a credible mid-sized SUV alternative. This contender has been brought up to date, and there's now e-hybrid tech, as well as a flagship plug-in PHEV option. Time to start taking this car a bit more seriously.
Choose a Jeep, even one as lifestyle orientated as this, and at the wheel you'll want, at least to some extent, to feel like you're in a proper SUV. Hopefully though, in this case, one with some of the rough edges smoothed away. By and large, that's pretty much what you get here. But if your benchmark is something like a Qashqai or an Attica, then you'll notice quite a few differences. Some of these are positive things, particularly the higher, more commanding driving position. Other aspects of Jeep motoring may not be quite as welcome. The engines on offer lack a little in terms of ultimate refinement, and you're obviously not going to get the cornering agility that a mere hatchback-derived crossover is going to give you. But then that kind of car doesn't need to form the basis for what Jeep calls trail-rated design. The top Trail Hawk variant of this Compass we're trying here qualifies for that kind of wilderness 4x4 status, and though the lesser versions that almost all Compass customers will choose are far less capable, they'll still seem eminently credible on the kind of light forest trail you'd possibly feel rather silly driving over in most segment rivals. In this rejuvenated version of the second generation model, 3 turbo petrol powertrains are on offer. The 2 most affordable units both drive only the front wheels and develop around 130 brake horsepower, though in very different ways. There's a conventional 1.3-litre GSE T4 power plant with 6-speed manual transmission, or a 1.5-litre E-hybrid engine which combines mild hybrid tech with the addition of a 19-horsepower electric motor integrated into a 7-speed dual-clutch auto gearbox. That motor's powered by a tiny 48-volt, 0.8 kilowatt-hour battery, which can propel the car at very low speeds for extra efficiency. At the top of the range is the plug-in hybrid 4xe model we're trying here, the only 4-wheel drive Compass. This uses a 180 horsepower version of the conventional 1.3-litre petrol unit mentioned earlier, mating it with a 60 horsepower electric motor mounted on the rear axle that's powered by an 11.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack, offering a claimed driving range when fully charged of 30 miles. The Compass 4xe's official WLTP fuel economy reading is rated at between 141.2 and 156.9 mpg. You'll never actually record that in real motoring, of course, but you should get fuel figures comparable to those of the old diesel variant. And the low CO2 figure of up to 44 grams per kilometre will help with your BIK tax payments and VED tax disc. Cars of this kind used to be called crossovers. Then we got told to call them SUVs. It's a designation that sits a touch incongruously with some other fickle, fashion-led contenders in this class. But this Jeep does, in every sense, look like a proper modern compact SUV rather than the kind of hatchback on steroids that most of the magazine experts will tell you to buy in this segment. Visually, not much has fundamentally changed about the second-generation Compass design in this updated form, but the car has gained a more modern, purposeful look that should fit in much better down at the gym. The major part of this updated model's design budget, though, was spent inside the car. Well, quite a lot certainly changed with this facelift. The dash, centre tunnel and door panels are all completely different. You now get a 10.25-inch digital instrument layout, and there's a much larger 10.1-inch Uconnect 5 centre screen. This offers over-the-air updates and uses a processor with response times 5 times faster. Plus, there's wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto phone connectivity. And this display can feature Amazon Alexa integration and a 4G Wi-Fi hotspot. Not all the cabin's upgraded trimming choices really work. You still wouldn't think you were in any kind of premium brand product. But Jeep has trebled the amount of cabin storage space on offer, and all the staple features we liked so much before are still in place. So, the chunky 3-spoke wheel feels great to hold, the driving position remains properly commanding, and the rubber floor mats and the chunky design of the various controls remind you that you're in a car from a brand that only makes SUVs. Time to move back to the rear. Back here, it helps that, rather surprisingly for a design that must incorporate a capable four-wheel drive system on some of its variants, the central transmission tunnel is low and knee room's better than we expected. So, if you had to fit 3 adults back here, it'd probably feel a bit easier to do than would be the case with some apparently larger class rivals. Let's finish with a look in the boot. Now, unless you stretch to the very summit of the range, there's no power operation for this tailgate, which is a pity because it's quite heavy. Once it's raised, you'll find 438 litres of space, a big improvement on the 351-litre capacity of a Renegade, but not very competitive within the Compass's chosen segment. Fold everything flat and up to 1,251 litres of space is revealed, which should be just about sufficient for the needs of most family folk. In its earlier form, the Compass was a marginal player in the mid-sized SUV sector, and we can't see that changing anytime soon. But it's a much better product than it used to be, and the addition of e-hybrid and PHEV tech to the range brings it into line with the way the segment is developing. What's at stake, then, is the definition of what a car of this kind should be. Jeep reckons that the design of a model in this segment should be more than just about plastic skid plates and raised suspension. It always has. The difference here, though, is that the company has, at last, made a car that credibly represents that philosophy in the affordable mid-size section of the mainstream market. In future, the company will build better SUVs than this, but there's no doubt that what's on offer here represents a decent step forward for the brand. A Jeep then, but not quite as we know it.